So today I was working on making the thigh pieces for the Tin Man. I've already made the shin pieces of the costume, and these are to go over the top of the base silver layer to make it feel a bit more um, tin, a bit more like he's actually been shaped out of metal. And so to do this, I looked at drafting a pattern piece for the thigh, and it was a lot more to think about than with the shin, because you have to accommodate for the increase and decrease in size of the thigh and accommodate for the crotch area. So I had to make it taller on one side and lower as it comes onto the inside of the leg. I will probably have to change this again and switch it around when it comes to actually fitting it on the actor, but this is a good enough starting point for now to then try fitting it onto the actor. And then so I spent a while revising the piece and measuring it and checking that with the measurements of the actors, because it's double cast, and finding a good middle ground between the two of them so it'll hopefully fit both of them. And so once I'd finished that pattern piece, I cut out lots of sections to make up that piece. So I sectioned it out, and then I cut out these individual pieces with an extra seam allowance that I added of about an inch or half an inch. And the reason I did that was to accommodate for the size of the seam so it doesn't come out smaller than it should. And so I put together then those pieces to make up that larger piece that I drafted. And the reason I did this was just to give it a bit more texture, a bit more shape as well, make it more visually interesting than just one flat piece. And it also gave the seams gave it a bit more rigidity and a bit more structure. And I top stitched on them to make it flatter, rather than, because when you do it with such a stiff material like that, it curves like that, which I don't want, and which I also did with the shin pieces previously. And then I found that sewing them together, right sides together, was quite easy. It went through the machine really well, and the issue that I had with hemming the shin pieces and the thigh pieces was actually because it's the top part of the leatherette that sticks to the machine and gets stuck. It causes a lot of friction and it won't slide through. So having both of those sides on the inside and the fluffier material side on the wrong sides go through the machine really nicely. But when I'm hemming it, it's on both sides, the stickier side, which makes it really difficult for it to go through the machine. So on quite a few instances, the hem looks really, really bad, I think. It's quite lumpy and it's been chewed by the feed dogs, which I think I mentioned happened with the shin piece, because it's just so sticky to get through the machine that I really have to push and drag it, and that can warp the material. So I found that cutting a shorter, a really small hem helps, because then there is less of the sticky in contact with the machine on the bottom side, so it can slide through more easily. And I also use sewing clips because I can't use pins. Well, I could use pins on the fabric, but it would just damage it further. And I found the clips really helped holding that in place. And the reason why I haven't just unpicked the hems and I've stuck with the floored ones that I have is that when it struggles to go through the machine, it does lots of stitches really tiny and tightly, and this can really weaken the material. And if I were to unpick that, it would probably be riddled with holes, and I don't think it would survive another trip through the machine. And when it works fine, I could afford to unpick it because there's enough gaps between the actual stitches and the needle going into the material that I could afford to do that. But because it went wrong and I actually need to, I can't, because it just causes too much damage. So that's as far as I got with that today, and I started thinking about adding some more interest to it. I also used a more textured silver material for a couple of panels, just to give it that extra bit of interest.